So again, let's just understand. The Rebbe is telling us that there is this concept of das, and das, you need das, that the tzaddik, who is the manig, who is the ultimate Rachman, that has the das. All he's doing is being oisik b'yeshua shalaylam and bringing das into the people. And the Rebbe says that not only does the tzaddik do it, but we also do it when we talk to each other. In Yerushalayim, we're bringing in das. And the Rebbe explains that the das that we're bringing in to is we need Yerushalayim in order for the diva to have a kiyum, and that's the das that comes in to that we're giving into the thing. That's the Ben Talmud. Without going into all the specifics, in a very quick review, the Rebbe is talking about the das that we're talking about. And this das is the koyach of being a Rachman. This das is the koyach of being a manig. And now the Rebbe is explaining us step 2 with this das. And this is what we started yesterday. And through this, that we're busy with talking to our friends, to introduce, to lahachnes boy das, to give him, to inject him with das and Yerushalayim, and to be mamid talmidim. That's when I am injecting this das and Yerushalayim, and it sounds like you were medayik very good yesterday, Mendy, that it's 3 components here. Injecting him with das and Yerushalayim is being mamid talmidim, which is very interesting, by the way. If you want to stop and be medayik here, the Rebbe was saying that the tzaddik is oisik b'yeshuva shalaylam. Sha'olam yiyah miyushuv mebnei adam. Miyushuv sounds settled. Lahamid is the opposite of miyushuv. Miyushuv is sitting. When you're sitting, you're more settled than when you're standing, right? And here the Rebbe is saying lahamid talmidim. That you're being oisik b'yeshuva shalaylam. You're making the world more settled by being maimid talmidim, by shtelling avek a talmid, by making talmidim. So the Rebbe is telling us, how do we do that? By talking to each other and with das and Yerushalayim. In other words, when you see your friend is struggling and you give him a good word, you're giving him das that he didn't have because he's in the challenge, and you're giving him Yerushalayim, and through that you're making him your Talmud, and vice versa, the same thing. That, says the Rebbe, what happens is spiritually the the light of the makif, the external seichel that is surrounding him, that is not internalized, the light of that makif goes into him, the hainu. That he merits to understand and know what he did not understand and know before. So Rebbe is sort of telling us that means, first of all, we have to be medayik here, that we said this earlier. The Rebbe says, what is das? Sheyodeya umargish, that he knows and he feels. That means he knows and he feels the Eibishter. In other words, he knows and he understands. Lahavin is Havana. Havana is not just the knowledge. It's not just repeating the information of the raw intellect, but it's how do I apply that information into my daily life. So that's my emotional intelligence. Lahavin is Bina, which is my heart. Leida is in my moyach, is in my mind. So what we're saying here is that the das that you're giving into the person, when you're giving him this, when he gets it, the aha moment that he gets it, you gave him das, and now he gets it. What that aha moment is, that the Eira Makif went in and gave him the ability to understand and know something that he did not understand and know before. That is what is happening here. Spiritually, you're injecting him with your dibur, and your dibur is das, but it needs spirituality. So the Eira Makif is what's going to give him the ability to understand and know something that he did not understand or know before. If you have the whole thing of good morning, if you have the whole prerequisite of Rahman, das to have rachmanis, to be a mani, to be able to inject that das, and you have Yirah Shamayim. In other words, there's a resume that you need in order to be able to do this. But when you get to this resume, then you are able to inject him with the light of the makif. Yeah, you asked this yesterday. It's a good question. I don't know. If you're giving das, then you're giving Yirah Shamayim. And the Rebbe says, Lahachnes by das ve Yirah Shamayim.
What is
spirituality? Is the connection to spirit. It's also fear. Fear comes from awe. I'm in the presence of such awness, such greatness, that I'm afraid. I'm a fear. To me, it sounds like, again, I don't know. I said the question is a good question. I don't know. The difference, das is the connection. Yirah Shamayim is the protection. Yes. I have connection. What's going to sustain that connection? What's going to give it a kiyum? That it's not only going to be a moment of connection and then I lose connection. Yirah Shamayim is the protection. No, it's protecting that the das stays. It's protecting that the das stays. It's protecting that the das has a kiyum. The Rebbe said that in Sifei. That in order for the das to have a kiyum, it needs Yirah Shamayim. So Yirah Shamayim, you could be connected to spirituality without Yirah Shamayim, but it won't last. That's what he's saying. In order for the das to be internalized and have a kiyum, it needs Yirah Shamayim. Is a prerequisite for the das to have a kiyum. That means if a guy's pagim bebris and he connected to das, it happens all the time, right? But bottom line is he has no Yirah Shamayim. So there's no kiyum to it. There's no protection. That even though he felt a murdig davening in Rosh Hashanah and Oman, but he goes back to his addiction because the Yirah Shamayim is missing. He's missing the Yirah of Hashem's awesomeness that will protect him from going back to his addiction. Mandy, the Rebbe gave us information. What is the das that he's talking about in this Torah? Ato harezel das ki Hashem hu elikim ein oid milvadoi. And the Rebbe said the words ki yesh elikim shalid ba'aretz. What is Moshe Rabbeinu infusing das into the world? That he's oisik b'yeshuva shalaylam. He's infusing the das that yesh elikim shalid ba'aretz. That in every scenario and every situation, God is ruling here. Not ein oid milvadoi, and there's nothing but God here. It's not me 1% and God 99%. Ein oid milvadoi. That's the das. That's the ultimate place of das that Moshe Rabbeinu is infusing into Klal Yisrael, and he's oisik b'yeshuva shalaylam to give this das sheyesh elikim shalat ba'aretz ein oid milvadoi. But we are disconnected from that. But we have moments where we connect to that on some level. And maybe even when we're disconnected, we're also somehow connected in a different level because we're Kedushas Yisrael. Could be that we automatically have some kind of das, some kind of a connection to this place of Yesh Elikim Shalat Ba'aretz Ve'ein Oid Milvadoi, right? But we're not, because we have we're challenged with koichi v'oitzim yadi every second of the day. But what the Rebbe is telling me is Yirah Shamayim protects that. If you have Yirah Shamayim, then that connection that you have won't just be a moment of Yesh Elikim Shalat Ba'aretz. There'll be a kiyum to that level of understanding of Ein Oid Milvadoi, of understanding that the Rebbeinu Shalom runs and micromanages every single thing. So the Yirah Shamayim is separate than the das. The das is the connection. The Yirah Shamayim is what's protecting that connection of being able to have longevity, to have a kiyum. That's what the Rebbe said in Sifei. So now the Rebbe is telling you that if you have these two components of das either because you got it from your Rebbe or your father, because you were a Ben or Talmud from your Rebbe or your father, and you have Yirah Shemayim, and you're talking to your friend and you're giving him das in Yirah Shemayim, so now he becomes a Talmud to you. And if he becomes a Talmud to you, your das stays in this world. And now the Rebbe is telling us on a deeper level what is really happening spiritually. Understand that when your das, mute yourself, please. What he's telling us is that on a deeper level, what is happening is there is this external seichel that surrounds us at all times. And that seichel is the das, the connection to Hashem that we did not internalize on our level. That is called a makif. And that makif surrounds us. That's why it's called a makif, because it's not internal. It's a seichel that is surrounding us. But when we get the das and we internalize that seichel, then the oira makif goes into us and it becomes now a panim. It becomes internalized. It's not a makif anymore. The second that the makif becomes internalized, we get a new makif of das. I don't know. But the way I understand it is many times you can get it and not get it. And the difference is when you heard the phrase, the light bulb went on? Like you heard it 100 times, the same thing, and all of a sudden, boom, you heard the same word. The light bulb went on. What happened? It's the oir. There was no light in the makif. That means even though I internalized the seichel, I internalized it in my brain. I didn't internalize it in my heart. I didn't bring it down to the place into his brain. But the part that didn't go into his seichel, that's called a makif. Because this knowledge surrounds his seichel, and it's impossible for him to bring it to internalize it into his seichel, because he cannot understand it because it's a makif to him. When a person talks to his friend and he's giving him his das, it comes out that now he emptied out his brain from the seichel and the das that he had because he gave it over to his friend. So now that he emptied out his das to someone else, so there's place for the makif to come inside. That's what brings the makif in turn. It's you're giving it over and making place for the makif, for another makif to come inside. Doesn't mean you're losing it. You're making space by giving it out through no, it's not in your seichel. It became part of you. Becomes a part of you. It's not in your seichel. It becomes part of your what is it called? Your habit, not a habit. Your instincts. Your instincts. It becomes part of your instincts. That das becomes part of your instincts. And you're able to understand something that you didn't understand earlier. There are many types of levels of makifim. Because what's a makif to one person is a pnimi to someone who's at a higher madrega. You got that? In other words, understand, again, what are we saying? What is das? Das is the ability to connect to knowledge that yesh elikim shalit ba'aretz ve'ein oid milvado. So there are levels. Each, that means, even if I have das to know on a surface level that globally Hashem controls the world and nothing is but Hashem, but in my life's challenges I get distracted from this. So, like you said yesterday with the Mayim Achronim, with them, their das was, there's no way I'm benching without Mayim Achronim. That was, it became part of them. it became part of them that this is the way I know that Hashem is here, because even when I'm benching, I'm taking my machron because it's halacha and shulchan aruch, and I'm connected to that das of yesh elikim shalat ba'aretz ve'ein od milvado. So, but you're not, and I'm not. So that means what is a makif to me, that's still a makif. That das, that yesh elikim shalat ba'aretz through my machronim is to me a makif, because I didn't internalize it. Even though I know it, I didn't internalize it. It didn't become a pnim.
But he, on the other hand, with chaverishaft as a chaver, he taught it to me last night. Again, I'm not.
Did you internalize it?
Without verb.
In other words, he said it to you. Did it, if it internalizes, if you start doing my machronim every time you bench, then he gave you das with Yirah. Now his das got emptied. He got a new makif.
Right. And I'm saying more than that. He did it without even.
But it doesn't say Moshe. Ata Reza, show them. Ata, you will show them das. By example, I believe that das, most das of Yeshalikim Shalat Ba'aretz is by example, not by talking. The biggest chinuch is example, right? If we're talking about Ben and Talmud, which is chinuch, the biggest chinuch is by example. Not
you ultimately have
that there are different levels of das. And I could have a das that you don't have, and you could have a das that I don't have. So legabe, the das that you have that I don't have, you are in a madrega elyoina. Legabe, the das that I have that you don't have, I'm in a madrega elyoina. What does it mean in a madrega elyoina? That the makif was a pnim to me. What's a makif to you is a pnim to me, or what's a makif to me is a pnim to you.
On that same thing.
On the same exact thing.
Yes. You see, let's talk about Mayim Achronim. So on the Mayim Achronim, the fact that now I learned
the world, it's endless, it's Ein Sof. So that means each thing, the what minute thing of Mayim Achronim, you know how deep it is? You know how many more layers of depth of connection? How do I connect? Not just do Mayim Achronim. How am I connecting with my Mayim Achronim to the Eibishter? Al Pi Kabbalah, there's crazy depth to it. Crazy depth to it. So Das is something that in its every part of das has depth to it, and there's so much. It's be'eches, bekamas, be'eches. You have it in both. Says the Rebbe. Yesh kam mechinas makivim gemasha makiv lezeh ubechinas pnimi eitz chaverish u'madrega l'mayla mimenu v'chein l'mayla mayla, and it keeps going higher and higher. Yesh seichel shebechinas makiv lezeh ve'etzel acher zeh seichel hu namach afilu mebechinas pnimi. He's saying like this: what could be a makif to you about Mayim Achronim, to the Uzbans, it's not even a pnim anymore. It's much less than. He says it's lower than a pnim. In other words, it's lower, maybe, like we said before, that it becomes part of him. It becomes his instincts. And when it becomes his instincts, it's not even a pnim to him. So if it's not a pnim to him, even though you learned it from him, lav davka, he gets a new makif. Because it wasn't his pnim. It was lower than his pnim. Through this, that if you talk to your friend, you give him das. So now my makif became a pnim. V'chein lemala mala shekol echad lefi b'chinasei u'madrigasei nichnas makif shaloi lefnim ayidei shemedaber mechaver v'talmid midoy machnas b'ydaita. So he's saying like this: if I'm talking to you and I'm giving you das, so now my pnim became your makif. My pnim was your makif, and now I was machnes, the makif in lefnim, because I could see, and you became a talmud or a ben to me. So now my pnim got empty, and my pnim got a makif. But not only did my pnim get a makif, but the person who spoke to me in Yerushalayim, that his pnim became my makif, that became now my pnim, also emptied out his pnim, because every time a makif comes into me, so the person who gave me that makif, who gave me that makif, he has a panim that became empty that now gets another makif. So the Rebbe is saying it's a chain. I'm sharing that light. But by me sharing that light, it had to move out of this chamber. Where did it move to? It became part of me, became my instincts. But it moved out of this chamber. But it's not that I lost it. And it's not that I invested it. I took.
If you have someone died,
there's a fire on the candle right here. I took the candle, and I took it from that room and I put it into this room, let's say. Or better yet, I left the candle there, I lit another candle from that candle, and I put it into another room.
I understand, Nachman, but I'm saying is that if I
power, there's a light of this das that I'm sharing that light with you. When I share that light with you, I get infused with a new light.
Right. Because the hardest word was empty.
שכל אחד לפי בחינוסי מדרגוסי נכנס מקף שלו לפנים על ידי שמדבר מחבר ותלמידו ומחנס בידייתו. So Rebbe is saying another chiddush, that when I do this to you, so the person who did this to me, he's getting a new makif too, and the person who did it to the person who did it to me, he's getting a new makif. The Rebbe is telling you it's an automatic continuation of more depth, of more makifim, of more das that is being infused in the world. In other words, I'm not losing this information and giving it over, but I'm actually contributing new makifim to come into the world. That's pshat in the pasuk. And that's pshat that the pasuk tells us it's very close to you, in your mouth and in your heart to do. Says the Rebbe, Ki korav elacha adava ma'oid, hainu, lekarev elacha adava shu b'chinas ma'oid, b'chinas ma'kifim. What is the Rebbe telling you? Ma'oid is, what's ma'oid? More is the makif. She'im ne'elamim u'rechokim min adam. That they're hidden and distant from the ma'oid, from the person. They're very distant and very hidden from the person. U'lekarva me'lecha lahachnisam b'fnim. And you want to be mekarev them. You want to bring them closer, to bring them internalized. How do you do that? Zetolui beficho b'vavcha la'soisoi. Beficho b'vavcha ze b'chinas pi yidabeh chachmos v'hagus libi tvunos. Hainu she'igala chachmosa u'tvunosa l'talmidam. If you use your ficho v'vavcha, which we said earlier is the das, which is the ben of Talmud, which is chalifos, pi yehega, pi yadaber chachmas v'hagus libi tfunas, which we said is the balance of chachma and bina, which is das. Hainu she'igala chachmosa u'tvunosa l'talmidam. You should reveal your chachma and your bina to your talmidim. V'zeu la'asoisoi v'chinas ki'ilu asoi. We said before, kol malamed ben chaver Torah ki'ilu asoi. The Torah ki'ilu, as if he made him, he created him. So he's saying, when you give das beficha b'vavcha to someone else, you magal das, it's la'asoisoi. It's as if you made him. So that's how you can be mekarev the makifim that are from you, to bring them into pnim, is by talking to your chaver in Yirah and giving him. So the Rebbe is teaching the pasuk. If you want to make ma'oid karev elecha, how do you do that? When you maimed talmidim through your ficha, through your chachma, b'vavcha, through your bina, or better yet, like you said, with das and Yirah. Says the Rebbe Vaita, and the highest makif that there is in the generation is the makif around the Chacham Ador, the Rebbe, the Tzaddik Ador. Shayidei shezeh haRebbe v'Chacham Shabador oisik ledabeim talmidim umachnes b'hem daitoi. Through this, that this Rebbe is oisik to talk to his talmidim and to give them das al yidei zen nichnosim ha'makivim shaloi lefnim. That gives the ability for the makiv to go inside for him. V'makifim shaloi, and his makifim hey mechinas arichas yomim v'shonim. That is the inyan of arichas yomim, lengthy days and years. Ki ha'makivim shaloi hey mechinas olam haba. Shu yom shekulo yorach. The makiv of the tzaddik is olam haba, which is the yom shekulo yorach, is a day that's very long. That's the place where there is time, does not have any kind of a relevance. Because all the time that there is in Olam Hazeh, whatever was from the beginning of time till the end of time, it's all nothing, ayin ve'efes, compared to one day or one moment of Olam Haba, which is the day that's Kulei Aruch, that has no time. So that means one moment of Olam Haba is more value than all the time from the beginning of time to the end of time, because there is no time to that moment. The moment of Olam Haba is not a moment the way we understand it. The moment or a day in Olam Haba is not a time the way you understand it. It has no time. It has no definition of time. So a moment of Olam Haba is more value than all the moments of Olam Hazeh. Says the Rebbe, V'sham ein shum zman. In Olam Haba there is no time. It's higher than time. Rak, say the azman sheyesh sham, hein b'chinas hasoga shel hamakifim, sheyesh makifim shebechinas yomim, v'yesh makifim shebechinas shanim. So he says like this. The Rebbe is saying, in Olam Haba there is no time. But there is time. It's not the time that we have in Olam Hazeh. A minute is 60 seconds, and a day and an hour is 60 minutes, and a day is 24 hours, and a week is 7 days, and a month is 30 days, and a year is 354 days. No, that's not the musik of Zman in Olam Haba. What determines time in Olam Haba? Makifim and Penim. Says the Rebbe, what does that mean? Rak. Say that as yesh sham mechinas azok sham mechinas shem mechinas yom yesh mechinas shem mechinas shon mechinas tkufas hayom tkufas hashonim ve'elu hamakifim sheyesh sham mechinas seder azmanim sham. That is the seder azmanim. Vasogas makif malalu ze ikar atainug v'ashashua shel olam haba. And being masik these makifim, that is the pleasure and the delight of olam haba. Asher misha zoichel asigam. Praises the one who's zoicha, who merits to be masik. Yeah, so Rebbe is telling us here like this: that there is makifim in the world, and there's panim. And when you talk to your friend with a makif and a panim, you're giving him your panim, which became now his panim, and you get a new makif. And the person above you gets a new makif. The person above him gets a new makif. And then there's the makif of the chacham ador, the highest makif. So that makif of the chacham ador, any makif that becomes a panim to him, is olam haba mamish. And Olam Haba is L'maylam and Azman. And that the only tainug that there is in Olam Haba of Zman is the Asogas HaMakif. So the tzaddik, he's able to internalize, when he internalizes this makiv, it's an internalization of a makiv that has no limitation of time or Zman. I think what the Rebbe is trying to say is that this makiv, which is das, which we said earlier, when a person dies, he needs to ensure that his das stays in the world through a ben Talmud. So the Rebbe is telling you that when you talk to your friend in Yirah Shamayim, you're giving him das, your das. So Mamela, your das is staying in the world, you're getting a bigger makiv. The person above you is getting a bigger makiv. So not only you're giving your das in the world, but you're giving all the das that you got from your father, that got from his father, all the way up to the beginning of time, and the das, and they in Olam Haba are getting new makifim. They in Olam Haba are getting new makifim, just like the tzaddik who's getting a new makif here in Olam Hazeh. So that means that this das of Yeshalikim Shal Ba'aretz, of Moshe Rabbeinu, that we said Mashahayahu Shiur, that he was the manik and he will be the manik, because he was the one who instituted das. And that das continues in the world through the Ben or Talmud, and every time there's a new das on the lower level, it's bringing a new makiv on the higher level. So that means Moshe Rabbeinu Mashahaya, who Shiur, what he was, he will be, because his das is continuous throughout the world. Because all the das in the world is coming from Moshe Rabbeinu, and Moshe Rabbeinu is getting new makifim today.
There's one das that he didn't have.
This das is limited in time. But every time there's a new makif that becomes a pnim, so that creates a new makif in Olam Haba, which is Yom Shekula Aruch, which is Lamayla Men Azman, and that's what brings in Arichas Yamim V'Shonim into this world. So effectively, the Zman of this world is really tali in the makifim of the next world. Since the makif and pnim in the next world is the Zman, so every time a new makif comes in, it trickles down into time in this world. For instance, take the Rebbe. The Rebbe's das is, we're learning the Rebbe's das right now, right? So now that we're internalized, this becomes a pnim to us. So all the way up to the Rebbe, he's getting new asogis of a new makif. And the chain keeps going. So Mamela, the power keeps going, spreading more and more, because there's more das, because there's new makifim. There's new makif of Yeshalikim Shal Ba'aretz. Ve'einoid Mavadoi.
So you're saying that his makifim is
not his chachma. V'zeh b'chinas tachlis hayediyah, and that is the purpose of knowledge. Ki tachlis hayediyah, the purpose of knowing, ashaloi neda, is to recognize that you don't know anything. Ki asogas elo makifim shem b'chinas ashur lamaba. Zeh b'chinas morav tuvcha asher tzafanta l'riecha. This is the goodness that says Ma Rav Tuvcha Asher Tzafanta, that you hid l'yirecha to the people that fear you. Ki heim rak toiv atzafim v'tomim v'sosum me'ein koil. Because these makivim, that is the goodness that is hidden and hidden and sealed from the eyes of anyone. V'zeh Ma Rav Tuvcha. That's pshat in the pasuk Ma Rav Tuvcha. Ma daika. Ki heim mechinas Ma. What are you looking for and what are you searching for? Ma means what? What are you doing? What are you doing? So he's saying Ma, which is the makif, Ma Rav Tuvcha, that's the Rav Tuvcha that you hid. So he's saying, why Ma? Because Ma symbolizes what are you doing here? What are you searching for? That the purpose of knowledge is to come to the place that I know nothing. That is the shefa of Keser. Ki Keser b'chinas makiv. The crown is a makiv. K'moshe Kosov Kitru as Ben Yamin, like it says, they crowned Ben Yamin.
Wow. So I mean, this is the ultimate of Rachmanis. I guess this last piece is the biggest piece, because ultimate to know that you know nothing, that you're always able to take in more and more and more from your Rebbe or from your Chacham.